because everybody's bought 120 volt light bulbs. They got 120 volt radio, refrigerator. Country doesn't want to just change for no reason.
So it's better to have a 220 than 110.
Use a lot less wire.
But it causes a lot of fire.
It has nothing to do with the voltage.
Like when people are everyone is using the electricity.
That has nothing to do with that.
Why?
Because when you measure usage is measured in watts, not current. It's you have to know how to do pi calculations, but basically it's the same amount of power, whether it's 120 volts. Okay, I'll give you an example. In my house, if I plug in a toaster, it'll be 12 amps. In the Philippines, it will be 6 amps. But it'll still be the same amount of watts. It's the same amount of energy. It doesn't matter that I'm running it on a lower voltage or a higher voltage. It's still the same amount of work that has to get done. So the only
because there's a lot of fire going on in the Philippines.
Because you don't have a managed transmission network. In other words, all the power lines are going around. There's nothing controlling those. They just put a power plant on it and hope to God it works and say a prayer. Here, we have computers that look at all those wires and they say, this one's getting too close, it's going to be overload. The computer says, brings another wire online automatically. Or another wire, whatever it needs. The computers take care of all that. So you're not going to have a fire because the transmission is managed much better. That's why I have a job, because I tell the transmission operators tell us what we can generate and what we can send.
You understand that more compared to the other because you're also electrician.
Right. I worked in the field, so I know this. I know the generation side of it. I know the transmission side of it, and now I know the computer marketing side of it. So, yeah, I've done all three. So you understand it intimately. But the problem with the Philippines is I have a wire. If I go ask the local Manila carrier, how many people on that wire? How much current are they pulling? Well, I don't know. He can look at the wire, and then when it melts, he'll know it was too much. But other than that, he doesn't know, because they don't have any computerized control over their grid. It's a rat's nest.
Really?
I don't even think the grids in the Philippines are all hooked together. See, here in the United States, all of the power is hooked together, all of it, from Florida to California. It's all in the same. It's on the same grid. In your country, there's probably different power in Manila. There's power here, power there.
Yeah, I think so.
They're not hooked together. There are advantages to it.
Different companies as well.
But they're not even connected together. It could be different companies, but are the wires, the grids connected? Probably not. And there are advantages to that. One advantage is if you're on a big grid and you lose a generation component over here, everybody else can make up the difference. So even though my generator died in this part of Manila, all the other parts of the grid are generating too. So I don't need that generator. The bad thing is if enough generators die, it can take the whole grid down because everybody's on the same grid. So it's good and bad.
But it's better to have a 220 than 110.
You can use smaller wire. That's the advantage. It's the only advantage.
Why it's so important?
Well, if I'm a country like the Philippines that doesn't have a lot of money, and I'm trying to put electricity into every home, and I can use half the amount of copper,
okay.
Why wouldn't I do that?
That's right. All right,
United
Professor.
States,
Professor Tom.
Well, United States